Rounds of Ivoe Williams. In this video, we're going to be talking about my reading of Jam on the Vine. I keep wanting to say Jane, girl, but it's Jam on the Vine. Jam, biscuits and jam. Bust that biscuit head open and put some jelly in it. Jam on the Vine. I got a process like that. But listen, the point is that I love this book for 3 different reasons, but there's one very important reason that resonated with me on so many different levels that I'm going to get into in this video, so stay tuned. Hello guys, this is me Troi, and I'm here again with another video, another FauxCast video. So this is part 3 of my Read So Lit readings. I'm trying to, make them as I go, right? But anyway, on this one, I'm going to talk about Jam on the Vine by LaShonda, Katrice, Barnett. Okay, first of all, I love this cover. It is really, really nice. I love it. I love the whole composition of it all, especially, well, speaking specifically with the newsprint behind the whole illustrative cover there, or the illustrative drawing or painting. I'm sorry, I can't even talk, girl. But anyway, Jam on the Vine. I ended up giving this 4 stars, and I'll tell you why I went down to 4. But first, let me read it to you, because I'm going to make this quick. So, a new American classic from an astoundingly original voice in fiction. LaShonda Katrice Barnett's Jam on the Vine is a dynamic and compulsive debut novel that chronicles the life of a trailblazing African-American woman journalist through the start of the 20th century. Ivoe Williams, the precocious daughter of a Muslim cook and a metalsmith from Central East Texas, ignites her lifelong obsession with journalism when she steals a newspaper from her mother's white employer. Living in the poor, segregated quarter of Little Tunis, Ivoe immerses herself in printed matter as an escape from her dour surroundings. She earns a scholarship to a prestigious college in Austin, only to return overqualified for the menial labor offered by her hometown's radical bias employers. Ivoe eventually flees to Jim Crow South with her family and settles in Kansas City, where she and her former teacher and lover, Ona, found the first female-run African-American newspaper, Jam on the Vine. In the throes of the Red Summer, the 1919 outbreak of lynchings and race riots across the Midwest, Ivoe risks her freedom and her life to call attention to the atrocities of segregation in the American prison system. So with that out of the way, as the synopsis states, this story is about it opens up in the late 19th century in Texas, following the story of a young girl named Ivoe who is living in a small house or cabin really with her mother, which is a Muslim cook named Lemon, her father, as I said, he's a metalsmith named Enos, and then her brother, her older brother Timothy, which they call Timbo, and then later subsequently she has a baby sister that comes along as well. But anyway, Ivoe has a passion for the written word. She has a passion for books. That's all she does is read like us. She has a passion for, newspaper, newsprint, and, the way the vehicle that, what she learns is the vehicle that owning her own newspaper could do to provide help and assistance as well as information and enlightenment to the black community who, during the Jim Crow era and so forth and so on, let's keep it real, that she can give them this information to help them form a democracy, or to the true democracy. But I love this book for a number of different reasons. First of all, it was just a grip and read, period. But I did struggle in the beginning because I felt like a lot of the setup was poking around at each of the different family members surrounding Ivoe, to the point where their little poking around kind of consisted of different paragraphs. Like 1 minute, they're talking about her brother going into the army in Cuba and then coming back, and the whole details behind that. Then her father getting into it with, some of the deputies. It kind of pokes around into those realms, and then things like her mother Lemon, owning this garden. Lots of good stuff, but I think that after a while it started to really settle down and streamline into Ivoe's particular story, and that's where the gripping just came full force as I was heading on to the end. Like literally, I think I picked up this book. Well, today is Friday night. I finished it a couple hours ago, but I read over 200 pages, 250 pages overnight. So anyway, with that out of the way, the book has so much to offer, not only in like the storytelling revolving around or orbiting around Ivoe and her family, but Ivoe, which all have their own different motivations that should be appreciated. But Ivoe, to me, she was such a a well-drawn character, you know what I mean? Like, the passion that she had for the things that she loved as it regards newspaper, newsprint, and getting her words out and getting her voice out, it was so strong and telling within this book. And I mean, the thing that really connected me to her was the fact that she was passionate, was going towards, you know, her goals and her dreams, and she was finding herself disappointed by certain life blocks that got within her way, and not just the, you know, the racist ass the people child, but the whole just ideal of every person who decides to step out into the world to follow their dreams, to follow their goals, to make a difference. They all face similar obstacles, some internal, some external, but it's always there that we're filled with disappointments, and that we don't necessarily get to the places that we want to within the time frame that we've always imagined of ourselves. So it takes years of her going back and forth, years of her trying, and years of her, you know, casting out and trying to get picked up, trying to be that voice for it to all actually take place within her. And that really resonated with me, because I know exactly what it's like to walk around with like a weary spirit, although you still feeling enlightened and encouraged and keep moving forward, because you believe that at some point things in your life will change around for the betterment of all the things that you've imagined for yourself. And so that is what really truly had connected with me at the end of the book, at the end of this book. Yeah, I was gonna say at the end of this day. That aside, I really enjoyed just the characters who orbited and surrounded Ivoe. You know, her mother Lemon. Her mother Lemon was a Muslim, and I love the fact that the author actually gave us that difference as a reader. You know what I mean? We didn't hardly ever read about, you know, the African slaves who held on to their particular faith as regards, you know, being a Muslim, as opposed to, you know, the indoctrination of Christianity within the plantations and things of that nature. So I love that, because like I said, you just never get there. But Lemon was just such an amazing character to me. Like, she just was everything that you want to read when it comes to a woman, a black woman, making her way and raising children within the late 19th century to early 20th century, with all of the racial discrimination and hate that is going around. You know, she's just full of wisdom that she passes on to each of her children. So I love Lemon, as well as Enos, the father, and then Timothy. Like, loved every single character within this book. I even loved the characters who were not so nice to Ivoe. But there's a really big point that shows within the synopsis that I could speak more about, which is actually that Ivoe is a lesbian. And girl, when I first got to the pages, and I knew it when it was about to break for the reader, it's like I knew it. And I was like, yes, girl. And all of her relationships, except one that she had with different women, was so beautifully drawn. So, you know, with the characters aside, I love this book because I love, like, what you would probably consider like the overarching message of this book, which is something that we see or should understand, that is really under attack now, today, still today, and that is our democracy. You know, Ivy wants to use her paper to bring a voice to the discrimination that's going on within, you know, the black community. And that's kind of keeping it at a scope. I think it's much wider than that, but she really wanted to bring a voice to the discrimination, the hypocrisy, the hate, the lynchings, the prison system that is designed to fill the pockets of, you know, not necessarily the black man, although the black man is used as the mule to keep that pocket money going into those hands. The only draw that I had with the book was really toward the end. I mean, I was kind of shaky at the beginning. I knew I was going to finish the book, but like I said, at the beginning, the author was doing a lot of setting up with each of the characters. But at the end, there was no final addressing of the characters. You know, like at the end, I was hoping that the author would give us some maybe some resolution for some of the characters, you know, that surrounded Ivoe. I mean, they were so bright and brilliant, you know, within the novel, that I was just, you know, although I appreciated tremendously everything that went on within the story, I still cared about those characters to want to know exactly what was their particular faith, or, you know, what was going to happen to them. So it's like it put a lot of emphasis on the characters. The book put a lot of emphasis on the character of like Lemon and her particular story, as well as so many different other characters within Ivoe's family, that at the end all of that kind of seemed brushed aside, and we went on, and the author led us straight forward to the meat and potatoes of the book, which is Ivoe's journey to creating the first black female newspaper that speaks specifically to, you know, the need to create a further, or to speak forward on the democracy that's necessary within America that, you know, was not happening. So with that out of the way, I do enjoy you guys for being here. Hope I didn't spoil nothing, but yeah, go pick up this book. It's a really good book.